Believe it or not, right now in the world's #1 economy, 1 in every 3 Americans is engaged in a silent survival struggle at the checkout counter every single day. These aren't people without jobs or income. They aren't poor in the traditional sense. Instead, they are being forced to make a brutal choice: a hearty family dinner or the gasoline needed to drive to work tomorrow. This isn't just simple poverty. This is a new, calculated financial survival tactic emerging in 2026, and it has a name: the art of the trade-off. Recent data has pulled back the curtain on a staggering reality. According to the latest polls, 33% of Americans are making these hard financial sacrifices on a daily basis. Another 31% are doing it weekly. Think about that for a second. That's nearly 2/3 of the population constantly weighing the necessity of a gallon of milk against the cost of a utility bill. But here's the twist. While people are struggling at the grocery store, 401k balances are hitting record highs, and Social Security checks are seeing a 2.8% COLA increase. So why does the wallet still feel so empty? Today, we aren't just going to look at the struggle. We are going to decode the strategy. We'll look at how 33% of the population is teaching us a masterclass in smart spending, and why mastering the trade-off might be the only way to survive the economic landscape of 2026. Let's dive in. But why? Why are people with stable jobs and healthy retirement accounts falling into this cash-poor trap? To understand the how, we first have to look at the what, and the numbers just released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics tell a chilling story. Inflation isn't just a headline anymore, it's a surgical strike on our daily essentials. When you look at the BLS data, you'll notice a strange divergence. While the overall inflation rate might seem like it's cooling, the categories that actually matter, eggs, electricity, car insurance, and rent, are behaving like luxury items. We've entered an era where a carton of eggs can feel like a stock market investment. This brings us to a psychological phenomenon that economists are starting to watch closely. It's the paradox of the wealthy poor. On paper, many Americans look great. If you check your 401k or your home equity, the numbers are up. The S&P 500 has been resilient, and property values haven't crashed. But you can't buy bread with home equity, and you certainly can't pump gas using your 401k balance without taking a massive tax hit. This is the cash-poor trap. It's a state of being where your net worth is growing, but your liquidity is evaporating. For that 33% of Americans making daily trade-offs, their wealth is locked behind a glass wall. They can see it, they know it's there for the future, but right now in the checkout line, they are struggling to find $20 for dinner. Think about the psychological toll that takes. You work 40 to 50 hours a week, you've done everything right, you've saved, you've invested, and yet you're still standing in the grocery aisle comparing the price per ounce of 2 different brands of cereal just to make sure you can afford both breakfast and the bus fare. It creates a sense of financial gaslighting. The news tells you the economy is growing, your retirement app shows a green upward arrow, but your bank account is screaming. This disconnect is exactly why tightening the belt has shifted from being a temporary fix to a mandatory survival skill. It's no longer about saving for a rainy day, it's about surviving the storm that's happening right now. In the past, we were told to cut back on lattes and avocado toast to build wealth, but today's 33% aren't cutting out luxuries, they're surgically removing necessities. They're choosing between a dental checkup and a new set of tires. They're timing their grocery trips to the exact hour their paycheck hits. This shift in behavior is profound. It's changing how we view the value of a dollar. When 1 in 3 people around you is constantly calculating the opportunity cost of every single purchase, the entire rhythm of the economy changes. Spending becomes slower. Decision-making becomes more painful. But here is where the story takes an interesting turn. While this situation feels dire, this 33% isn't just suffering in silence. They are pioneering a new way of navigating this high-cost, high-asset world. They are developing a set of smart spending tactics that might actually be the blueprint for financial resilience in the years to come. So how exactly are they doing it? How do you maintain your dignity and your future while the present is trying to drain you dry? To answer that, we need to move past the struggle and look at the strategy. We need to talk about the 72-hour rule and the cruel priority list.
Because once you understand the tools they are using to fight back, you'll realize that the trade-off isn't a sign of weakness, it's the ultimate weapon of the modern consumer. Many people think saving money is just about cutting everything out until your life feels miserable. They think it's about deprivation, but they're wrong. The smartest consumers right now aren't just cutting back, they are trading off with surgical precision. They've moved past the panic phase and into the strategy phase. This is how they do it without letting their quality of life collapse. The first weapon in their arsenal is what psychologists call the 72-hour rule. In an age of one-click checkouts and targeted ads that seem to read our minds, impulse spending is the silent killer of the middle class. The 72-hour rule is simple, but incredibly powerful. For any non-essential purchase over a certain threshold, say $50, you must wait exactly 3 days before hitting buy. Why 72 hours? Because that's how long it takes for the dopamine spike of newness to subside. During those 3 days, your brain shifts from emotional wanting to logical evaluating. You'd be shocked how many must-have items suddenly feel like don't needs by hour 73. It's not about saying no forever, it's about giving your logic a chance to catch up with your impulses. But the 72-hour rule only works if you have a clear framework for what comes next. This is where cruel prioritization enters the chat. We used to categorize spending into wants versus needs, but in 2026, that's too simple. Smart spenders are now using a 3-tiered system: the non-negotiables, the value drivers, and the noise. The non-negotiables are obvious: rent, basic groceries, utilities. But the value drivers are where the trade-off happens. These are things that aren't strictly needs, but keep you sane or productive. Maybe it's that high-speed internet for your side hustle, or a specific gym membership that prevents thousands in future medical bills. To keep these, you have to ruthlessly eliminate the noise, those ghost subscriptions you don't watch, the convenience fees from food delivery apps, and the filler purchases we make just out of habit. The goal here isn't to be a hermit, it's to ensure that every dollar you spend is actually buying you happiness or utility, rather than just leaking out of your pocket. However, there is one massive trap that even the most disciplined spenders fall into when things get tight: the 401k mirage. As we mentioned earlier, 401k balances are growing, and when you're facing a cash-poor week, that big number on your retirement app starts looking like a life raft. It's tempting. You think, I'll just take a small hardship withdrawal to bridge the gap. Stop. That is the most expensive money you will ever spend. Between the 10% early withdrawal penalty, the immediate income tax hit, and most importantly, the loss of compounded growth, a $5,000 withdrawal today could cost you $50,000 or more in lost retirement wealth. You aren't borrowing from your future, you are robbing it at a 500% interest rate. So, what's the alternative? The 33% who are winning this game are building what I call micro buffers. Instead of aiming for a massive 6-month emergency fund that feels impossible to reach right now, they're focusing on the 1-month firewall. They automate tiny, almost invisible transfers, even just $5 or $10 a week, into a high-yield savings account that is entirely separate from their main bank. This is friction-based saving. By making that money slightly harder to access than your checking account, you create a buffer that handles the flat tire or the broken tooth without you ever having to look at your 401k as a piggy bank. This transition from being a victim of the economy to a manager of your own microeconomy is where the magic happens. You start to realize that while you can't control the Fed's interest rates or the global price of Brent crude, you have absolute sovereignty over the flow of money within your own 4 walls. But there's a deeper level to this. Managing your spending is about surviving today. To truly thrive in the long run, we have to look at the bigger picture. The macro shifts, like the Social Security COLA increases and the changing value of the dollar itself. Because the trade-off isn't just about what you buy, it's about how you position yourself for a future where the old rules of saving might be dead. How do we turn these daily sacrifices into a long-term victory? To understand that, we have to look at the 2.8% trap and what it really means for your purchasing power as we head toward 2027. But survival is the first step. To move from just getting by to actually getting ahead, we have to look at the massive shifts happening at the top level of our economy. Because while you are busy mastering the art of the daily trade-off, the value of the money you are trying to save is changing right under your feet. Let's talk about that 2.8% COLA increase for 2026. On the surface, it sounds like a win. The government is giving you more money to keep up with the cost of living. But here is the hard truth. If your expenses in the real world, like healthcare, insurance, and fresh food, are rising at 4 or 5%, that 2.8% increase is actually a net loss in your purchasing power.
This is the inflation gap, and it's the primary reason why even those with a steady check feel like they are running on a treadmill that's moving faster than they can sprint. The biggest lesson we can learn from the current crisis is the danger of single-stream reliance. Whether it's Social Security, a single 9-to-5 job, or a traditional savings account, depending on one path is no longer a safety net, it's a vulnerability. So how do the 33% who are leveling up respond? They are shifting their focus toward building value density. Think about it this way. Cash is high volume but low density. It's easy to move, but it evaporates quickly under the heat of inflation. Value density is about holding assets that pack a lot of future purchasing power into a small space, assets that the government can't just print more of. For some, this means moving a portion of their micro buffers into hard assets like gold or silver. Why? Because in every survival scenario throughout history, precious metals have acted as a universal insurance policy. They don't pay interest, but they don't go to zero, and they certainly don't care about the Fed's next meeting. But value density isn't just about what's in your safe, it's about what's in your head. In 2026, digital skills are the new gold. A skill that can be sold globally, like data analysis, AI prompting, or specialized consulting, is an asset that inflation can't touch. If the value of the dollar drops by 10%, you simply raise your rates by 10%. Your talent is the ultimate inflation hedge. This is the transition from defensive trade-offs to offensive positioning. Instead of just asking, how can I spend less on gas, the forward thinkers are asking, how can I ensure that the work I do today is worth even more tomorrow? They are diversifying not just their portfolios, but their very identities. They're becoming economic hydras. If one head, one source of income gets cut off by a recession or a corporate layoff, they have 3 more ready to take its place. The 33% of Americans we talked about earlier are teaching us that the old rules are officially dead. The era of save 10% and wait for retirement has been replaced by the era of strategic trade-offs and asset density. It's about understanding that the economy of 2026 is a game of musical chairs. The music, the flow of cheap money and easy credit, has stopped. The people who are winning aren't the ones who are complaining about the lack of chairs, they're the ones who brought their own. By choosing to make small, smart sacrifices today, using that 72-hour rule, avoiding the 401k trap, and investing in high-density assets, you are essentially buying back your future freedom. You are moving from a position of being pressured by the economy to a position where you are insulated from it. You see, the trade-off isn't a permanent state of misery, it's a temporary bridge. On one side of that bridge is the anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck, at the mercy of the next COLA announcement. On the other side is a life where you dictate the terms. But as we wrap this up, there's one final question we have to answer. How do you stay consistent when the pressure keeps mounting? How do you keep making the smart choice when the easy choice is right in front of you? To close this out, let's look at the one thing that separates those who thrive from those who merely survive in this new economic landscape. Ultimately, what separates those who thrive from those who merely survive in this new economic landscape isn't the size of their paycheck, it's the clarity of their mindset. We've looked at the staggering numbers, the 33% who are making daily sacrifices, and the hidden traps within our retirement systems. But the most important takeaway is this: making a trade-off is not a sign of failure. It is not a white flag of surrender to a difficult economy. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It is a sign of a conscious, awake individual who refuses to let inflation dictate their future. These 33% of Americans aren't victims of the system. They're the early adopters of a new economic realism. They are learning to steer the ship while everyone else is still complaining about the tide. By mastering the 72-hour rule, guarding your liquidity, and building value density, you aren't just surviving 2026, you are taking back control of your destiny. The economic waves will keep coming, whether it's a COLA adjustment that doesn't quite cover the bills or a market shift that leaves others stranded. Your power lies in your ability to adapt, prioritize, and act. So, I want to hear from you. What is the biggest trade-off you've made recently to protect your financial peace of mind? Was it a subscription you finally cut, or a major lifestyle shift that changed everything? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might be the exact blueprint someone else needs to hear today. And if you found value in this deep dive, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are going to keep decoding these economic shifts together, ensuring you stay one step ahead of the curve. Stay sharp, stay disciplined, and I'll see you in the next one.